I'll say the quiet part out loud. Mr. Beast is the absolute worst YouTuber of all time. His entire enterprise is trash. His videos are trash. Actually, just kidding. Now that I have your attention, though, there is something deep I want to dive into. When it comes to how YouTubers have evolved, and not necessarily in a positive way. So YouTube started all the way back in 2005 with some random guy at a zoo.
Alright, so here we are, one of the elephants.
And the purpose of this platform was just for everyday average people to post videos for enjoyment. Nothing too complicated, right? Well, actually, the 2010s saw a rise of extraordinary people making a living off of YouTube. They had entire careers out of it. It was crazy. One of which is a group you might have heard of called Dude Perfect. And it's safe to say they peaked in the 2010s decade, just like Marvel. Their very original video where they were doing basketball trick shots was posted in April of 2009, and within 1 week of posting it, they got 200,000 views. You heard me right, 200,000. Which, don't get me wrong, that's quite a bit, but also for today's standards, people are regularly getting tens of millions of views on videos within a day. 200,000 just seems very lightweight, but back then it was huge. They were on the news, it was crazy, and they continued to grow their channel as they had these different trick shot videos, battles, and different skits. But at its core, what seemed the most appealing about it was that it was just 5 friends having fun. Now, by the end of the decade, they had passed over 50 million subscribers, and around the time that the COVID pandemic rolled around, they were averaging probably about 20 million minimum in views for their videos. But within the last few years, they've now reached a point where they're reaching like a maximum of 20 million views on their long form videos. And they do have over 61 million subs, which is definitely quite a bit more, but proportionally it's not anything that crazy. And despite the group being able to stay energetic even though they're in a different phase of life now, they have families, their channel is just not in its prime anymore. So what could have happened to cause this? There's probably quite a few factors. Like how the spectacle of their videos got higher since they were able to have higher budgets, and it just seemed kind of fake, even though it's not. And their original target audience probably grew up, didn't have the time to watch their videos anymore, and they can't really find a new audience because the younger generation is more interested in brain rot.
6, 7! Chicken stars, chicken stars, chicken jockey.
And as far as I know, Dude Perfect isn't really associated with any brain rot memes as of right now. Also, a lot of the crazy big budget stuff they're doing isn't uncommon for YouTubers these days. So you have more young competitors rising to fame. And just overall, Dude Perfect has done a lot of unique stuff throughout their history and continue to do unique stuff. But it's gotten to a point where doing unique things isn't unique anymore. Now, they definitely made a good decision on doing some short form content, which they've had some decent success with. Some of their shorts have over 100 million views, which nowadays their long videos getting that many views isn't even a possibility, even though back in the day it was. But just at the end of the day, it seems like they peaked and just don't hit the same anymore. I think it should also be noted they announced plans for a Dude Perfect theme park almost 3 years ago, and I don't think that's happening. Which brings us to a really good point. As YouTubers grow in fame, they start to turn into more of a brand, a company, even in terms of Mr. Beast videos. Now, I'm not trying to say that his original first few years of videos were his best.
No. Whoa. Oh.
But I do think in terms of quality, he peaked in an era of like the late 2010s, early 2020s, where yeah, he was starting to do some crazy stuff with money, such as giving away a house for $1. And it was still some pretty crazy stuff that people can't do in everyday life and fully relate with. But those videos seem to better capture the dynamic between him and his friends.
This is the second house.
No, I'm Carl.
You also saw more of the families of these different Mr. Beast group members. But as these videos have grown and got us to the point we are now, it feels like there's just more emphasis on the spectacle of these basically game shows that he's doing. And similar to some of the Dude Perfect stuff, it feels fake, even though it's real, I think. Now, Mr. Beast isn't necessarily stalling in subscriber count, he's still growing, staying on top. But in terms of views on his videos, I don't think they've gone up substantially. It is really impressive though how he kept everyone subscribed, despite never giving a cookie to anyone as far as I know. But there are so many different types of YouTube channels you can have where similar problems seem to be rising. Take the odd ones out. For example, he has an animation channel, and he used to be like my favorite YouTuber. I just enjoyed his animations about his life, and they weren't too complex or anything. It obviously wasn't like a cartoon that you would see on TV, but now it feels like he's aiming for more of that because over the years, he's gotten more workers for him working on the animation, but I don't think the substance of the videos are actually better. They used to come off as way more relatable. Now it seems like he just talks more about his experience as a famous YouTuber, going on tours and being part of the Rewind and whatnot. He also doesn't upload as often anymore, probably because the production takes longer, but I just overall prefer the more simplistic style of his older videos. I didn't even mind the lack of a background in so many of them. I actually think it made it better, because it originally just felt like one person making simple animations and discussing his life events in a funny way, and now it just feels like a cartoon made by a company. Not to mention he even has a Netflix show, which is a cartoon made by another company. And since probably COVID, I would say he has gone down in views. He would regularly get tens of millions of views on most of his videos, and over the course of the last few years, it's been more like 4 to 12 million views, somewhere around that range. Although he has found moderate success with posting short videos. Even gaming channels like Preston, that's how it started off, very simplistic, him gaming. He's turned into this huge spectacle YouTuber where he's doing all this crazy stuff that's clearly aimed towards kids, and I do find it a little cringy, but at least he understands his target audience. It's just so weird that the modern Preston videos, the modern Mr. Beast videos, and all these other things are what kids these days are going to be nostalgic over down the road. I mean, Mr. Beast is casually just renting the Eiffel Tower and the pyramids, and I feel like kids that are already growing up with this won't understand its significance. Like, that's crazy he's able to do that, but if you've always grown up with YouTubers doing that, you don't realize it's not normal. Whereas Gen Z got to see these YouTubers grow up, and at least we understand their humble origins. And there's just something really special about those old videos that captured the real life friendships between these YouTubers and their friends. It just felt more authentic. And yes, there is human interest in spectacle in these crazy challenges that the YouTubers do. I believe there is more human interest in the friendship dynamics, because it makes you be able to put yourself in that situation, wish you were there with your friends, and kind of imagine yourself there. Maybe even believing one day that can be you. Which is why I still enjoy Crow Ranaburger's channel, especially the videos with the Crow Rana gang.
Time to unleash Sigma Shaggy! Grimace is too powerful!
Maybe it's a blessing in disguise that he doesn't have 500 million subscribers, although he definitely deserves it. There are other examples of YouTubers that have remained timeless, like Jeremy Johns, who's done movie reviews for over a decade, and it's just him with a red background reviewing the movies. Not really anything has changed other than his haircut. Of course, you also have Moist Critical just sitting in his room with a white t-shirt. He's done that for years, and it's continuing to be well received. And who can forget the Report of the Week, the best food reviewer of all time? Yeah, he changes locations in his house or in his car, but the videos remain the same. It's him reviewing whatever new fast food item there is, and he still continues to barely ever edit his videos. It's all in one take, and I respect that. And this is a more recent example, but the Milkshake Monday guy I think will remain timeless.
Happy Milkshake Monday.
At the end of the day though, you might be asking yourself, what was the point of this video? And the truth is, there was no point. I just want you to watch me eat my Halloween Skittles. You can leave now.